Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, I want to talk to you today about something that weighs heavy on so many hearts. Maybe you've come here weary. Maybe you're carrying burdens that no one else can see. Life has a way of wearing us down through struggles, disappointments, and the endless demands of this world. But I want you to know something today. God sees you. God knows you. And yes, God knows that you are tired. The Bible tells us in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That is not just a promise, it is an invitation from the Lord himself to lay down the weight of your worries, your pain, and your exhaustion at his feet. My friend, you were never meant to carry it alone. So today I want to remind you that even in your weakest moments, God is still strong. When you feel like you can't take another step, his grace is sufficient. When you feel alone in the struggle, he is closer than you think. God has not forgotten you, and he has not forsaken you. So take heart, for the one who created the heavens and the earth holds you in his hands, and he will give you the strength to rise again. God sees your struggles. He sees the long nights when sleep won't come because your mind is racing with worries. He sees the mornings when you wake up feeling just as tired as when you went to bed, wondering how you'll get through another day. He knows the burdens you carry, the silent battles you fight, and the weight that presses on your heart. Even when no one else notices, he does. Even when you feel invisible, overlooked, or forgotten, he is there. The Bible tells us in Psalm 139:1-3, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways." This means that every tear you shed, every anxious thought you have, every weary sigh that escapes your lips, God sees it all. You do not go unnoticed. There are moments in life when you feel like no one truly understands what you're going through. You may be surrounded by people, yet still feel isolated in your struggles. You may put on a brave face, smile through the pain, and keep pushing forward, but deep down, you're exhausted. The world expects you to keep going, to stay strong, to handle everything without breaking. But God does not expect you to carry it all alone. He never intended for you to walk this road by yourself. He sees the silent cries of your heart, the unspoken fears, the deep exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to cure. And he is not distant from your pain. He is right there with you in it. When you feel like no one sees or understands your struggles, remember that God not only sees them, but he also cares. In Exodus 3:7, God says, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering." Just as he saw the suffering of his people then, he sees yours now. He is not blind to your pain. He does not ignore your burdens. He hears your prayers, even the ones that come out as nothing more than a whisper. He sees the moments when you feel like giving up, when you wonder if anything will ever change, when you're too weary to even put your struggles into words. And he does not stand by idly. He moves in ways you may not always see. Sometimes in the midst of struggle, it feels like God is silent. You wonder if he has forgotten you or if he even cares. But faith is not about always feeling God's presence. It's about trusting that he is there even when you can't see or feel him. Just as the wind is invisible but its effects are undeniable, so is God's hand in your life. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating things for your good, strengthening you when you feel weak, carrying you when you feel like you can't go on. In Isaiah 41:10, he says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." You may feel unseen by the world, but you are never unseen by God. He knows the weight of every burden you carry. He knows the depth of every pain you endure. He knows the exhaustion that fills your soul. And in his love, he meets you where you are. There is no struggle too small for him to notice, and no pain too great for him to heal. He is a God who sees, a God who understands, and a God who cares more deeply than you could ever imagine. There are times in life when the weight of your struggles makes you feel completely alone. You may be surrounded by people, yet inside you feel isolated. You may be carrying burdens that no one else knows about, fighting battles that seem impossible to win. It's easy to believe that no one understands, that no one truly sees the pain you carry, but that is not true. God is with you, even when you feel abandoned, even when your prayers seem to go unanswered, even when the silence feels deafening. His presence never leaves you. He has promised in His Word that He will never forsake you, and His promises are unshakable. In Deuteronomy 31:8 it says, "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." That is a truth that you can hold on to even in the darkest moments. Loneliness can be one of the hardest struggles to endure. It's not just about being physically alone. It's about feeling like no one understands what you're going through. You may have tried to explain your pain to others only to be met with indifference or words that don't bring comfort. You may have reached out for help only to feel ignored or dismissed. You may feel like no one sees the depth of your struggles, but God does. He sees the pain behind your smile. He knows the thoughts that keep you awake at night. He hears the prayers you can't even put into words. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." He does not stand far off, watching from a distance. He is near. He is holding you even when you feel like you are falling apart. There are moments when you may question if God is really with you. The hardships you face, the prayers that seem unanswered, the days when you feel empty, it can all make you wonder if He is really present. But God's presence is not based on feelings. It is based on His eternal promise. Just as the sun is still shining even when clouds cover the sky, so is God's presence with you even when you cannot feel Him. He has never left you, not for a moment. He is walking with you through every storm, standing beside you in every battle, and carrying you when you have no strength left to stand. Isaiah 43:2 reminds us, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." That is His promise. You will not be destroyed. You will not be consumed by your struggles. He is with you through it all. Sometimes God's presence is felt most in the quiet moments, in the stillness when you turn to Him in prayer. It may not come in a loud voice or a dramatic sign, but rather in the peace that settles in your heart when you surrender your burdens to Him. It may come in the gentle reminder of His Word, in the comforting embrace of His Spirit, in the strength He gives you to take one more step when you feel like giving up. He is not a distant God. He is a personal, loving Father who walks with you through every valley, no matter how deep your pain, no matter how heavy your burden. You are not alone. God's presence is with you in the moments when you feel forgotten, in the nights when you cry out in desperation, in the seasons when you wonder if things will ever get better. He has never abandoned you, and He never will. His love surrounds you, His grace sustains you, and His arms are always open, ready to hold you in the midst of your struggles. Life has a way of wearing us down, leaving us feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. The pressures of daily responsibilities, the weight of past mistakes, and the uncertainties of the future can create a burden too heavy to carry alone. Many people try to push through, relying on their own strength, but over time the exhaustion becomes too great. It is in these moments of weariness that Jesus extends an invitation that is both comforting and powerful. In Matthew 11:28, He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This is not just a kind gesture. It is a promise from the Son of God Himself. He is calling the weary, the broken, the overwhelmed to lay down their burdens at His feet and find the peace that only He can give. The world offers many solutions to exhaustion: distractions, entertainment, self-help strategies, but none of them provide true rest. Physical rest may ease the body, but only Jesus can give rest to the soul. The kind of rest He offers is not just about sleep or relaxation. It is about finding peace in the midst of life's storms. It is about knowing that no matter what challenges arise, you are held securely in His hands. The burdens that weigh you down, fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, doubt, are not yours to carry alone. Jesus does not simply offer to lighten your load. He offers to take it from you completely. He is the good shepherd who cares for His flock, who takes carrying you into His, the one who knows when you are too tired to take another step and carries you when you can no longer walk. There are times when it feels difficult to come to Jesus, times when the weight of life feels too overwhelming to even pray. Some may feel unworthy, believing that they must first fix themselves before approaching God. Others may feel too distant from Him, as if their struggles have created a separation that cannot be bridged. But Jesus never places conditions on His invitation. He does not say, come to me once you have everything figured out. He does not say, come to me only if you have been faithful. He simply says, come as you are. Come with your brokenness, your doubts, your pain. His arms are open, waiting to receive you just as you are. Resting in Jesus does not mean that life's difficulties will disappear, but it does mean that you will no longer have to carry them alone. It means that even in the midst of trials, you can find peace. Even when life is uncertain, you can have confidence that God is in control. Even when the road ahead looks difficult, you can walk forward in faith, knowing that you are not walking alone. This kind of rest is not temporary. It is a deep and lasting peace that remains even when circumstances do not change. It is the assurance that no matter what happens, you are loved, protected, and held by the one who has already overcome the world. The enemy will try to convince you that you must keep struggling, that you must fight every battle on your own. He will whisper lies that you are too far gone, that your burdens are yours alone to bear. But Jesus speaks a different truth. He calls you to release your burdens, to lay down your worries, to trust in His strength rather than your own. When you come to Him, you are not met with condemnation, but with grace. You are not met with judgment, but with love. He does not turn away those who are weary. He welcomes them with open arms. He takes the burdens that have drained your strength and replaces them with His peace, His love, and His unshakable presence. There are moments in life when exhaustion sets in so deeply that it feels impossible to keep moving forward. The burdens of daily life, the struggles that seem never-ending, and the disappointments that stack up over time can leave you feeling completely drained. You may have tried everything in your own power to stay strong, to hold everything together, to push through the pain, but at some point human strength runs out. It is in these moments of complete weakness that God's strength is made perfect. His power is not limited by human exhaustion. His strength does not fade or diminish. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, the Lord says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When your strength fails, His strength begins to work in ways you never imagined. Relying on your own strength can only take you so far. No matter how strong a person may be, there will always come a time when they reach the end of their own abilities. The pressures of life, the weight of responsibilities, and the challenges that come unexpectedly can push even the strongest person to the brink. But God never intended for you to rely on your own strength alone. He calls you to lean on Him, to draw from His unlimited power, and to trust in His ability to carry you through even the most difficult circumstances. Isaiah 40:29 says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. He does not expect you to handle everything on your own. He wants to be your source of strength, your refuge in times of trouble, and your foundation when everything else feels shaky. There are times when weakness makes you feel inadequate, as though you are failing because you can't handle everything on your own. But God does not see weakness the way the world does. The world tells you that you must always be strong, always have everything under control, always appear capable. But God tells you that it is in your weakest moments that His power is at work the most. When you come to the end of yourself, when you have nothing left to give, that is when His strength is most clearly revealed. His power is not dependent on human ability. It is limitless, unshakable, and always available. He does not grow tired or weary, and He never runs out of what you need. When you feel like you can't take another step, He carries you. When you feel like you have no more fight left, He fights on your behalf. God's strength is not just for moments of crisis. It is available every single day, in every situation, in every challenge. He provides strength not just for the big battles, but for the small, everyday struggles as well. He strengthens you when you are discouraged, when you are anxious, when you are overwhelmed. His power is not something you have to earn or work for. It is a gift that He freely gives to those who trust in Him. All He asks is that you surrender your weakness to Him and allow Him to work through you. Philippians 4:13 declares, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is not a promise of self-sufficiency, but of divine empowerment. It is a reminder that no matter what you face, you are never alone in your struggles. When life feels too heavy to bear, when exhaustion makes it seem like you have nothing left to give, remember that God's strength is more than enough. He is not asking you to be strong on your own. He is inviting you to lean into His strength, to trust in His power, and to find rest in the assurance that He will never let you fall. His grace is sufficient, His power is unshakable, and His strength is always available to those who put their trust in Him. You may be weary, but you are not alone. You may feel weak, but God's strength is more than enough. You may be carrying burdens that seem too heavy, but He invites you to lay them down at His feet. He sees your exhaustion. He knows your struggles, and He has not forgotten you. His presence is with you even in the darkest moments. His love surrounds you even when you feel unworthy, and His promises remain true no matter what you face. This season of weariness is not the end of your story. God is still working, still moving, still preparing a way for you. He is calling you to trust Him, to lean on His strength, and to find rest in His presence. He does not ask you to figure everything out on your own. He simply asks you to come to Him. He is the source of true peace, true hope, and true restoration. So do not give up. Do not let the weight of exhaustion steal your faith. Do not let the trials of today make you forget the promises of tomorrow. God is faithful, He is with you, and He will carry you through. The road may be difficult, but with Him, you will not walk it alone. Keep trusting, keep holding on, and know that His grace will sustain you every step of the way.